I guess we have everybody here. I can see. Okay, welcome tonight to everyone to this portion of tonight's Administration, Fire, and Finance Committee meeting. I am your chair, Jason Trombetta. Due to the COVID protocols, this meeting will be via Zoom. Any comments or questions, please email the clerk, Joanne Shimmy at West Lincoln before 4:30 at the day of the meeting for any comments. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest from any members of committee? Seeing none, we do have number 3. We do have a confidential matter, so I'll read it out prior to going to confidential. That the next portion of the meeting be closed to the public to consider the following pursuant of Section 239-2 of the Municipal Act 2001. 3.1, Mr. John Mascaron, Aird and Bearless Township Integrity Commissioner, a personal matter relating to an unidentifiable individual, code of conduct complaints, applicable personal matters about an unidentifiable individual, including municipal or board local. So I'm going to need a move, and then after coming out of that, we will have a recommendation out of it. So I need a mover to go into closed. I got Councillor Riley and Councillor Ganan. So I'd like to put this meeting into close. So I will see, all those in favor going into closed? And that's carried. So this portion of the meeting will be now headed into close. So I'll see you guys. You guys all should have been given a link from Roberta for the next portion of the closed meeting. So I'll see you on the other side. To go into open session. So I need a mover to go into, like, a Councillor Bradrick, Councillor Riley, all those in favor going back into open session, and that carries. So leaving off, welcome everybody again. We'll get going on the Administration Finance Committee meeting. I'm your chair, Jason Trombetta, once again. Is there any changes of orders of items on the agenda? Seeing none. Any disclosure of interest or pecuniary interest of any members? Seeing none. There are no appointments. Is there anybody here to request any items on the agenda, Roberta or Madam Clerk?
I'm seeing none, Chair.
None for me as well.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you. Moving on to consent agenda items. Recommendation, item number A3821, recommendation that the Administration Finance Committee hereby approves the Administration Fire Committee consent agenda items. Item 1, be hereby adopting the recommendations contained there and be adopted. Number 2, be hereby and adopted. Recommendation report T13-2021, the 2021 tax rate bylaw. And number 2, report WFD 08-2021, monthly update, April 2021. Would anybody like to pull any of these items? Seeing none, all those in favor? I need, sorry, yep. I need a mover, actually, sorry. Mr. Mayor, Councillor Ganan, all those in favor? And that's carried. Moving on to communications, there are none. Staff reports, item A39-21, Treasurer Director of Finance, Donna DeFilippis, information report T14-2021, a financial update as of April 30th, 2021. The recommendation reads that the report T14-2021 regarding the financial update as of April 30th, 2021, dated May 17th, 2021, be received for information. I need a mover for that. Councillor Rayner, seconded by Councillor Ganan. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Moving on to item A40-21, Treasurer Director of Finance, Donna DeFilippis, recommendation report T15. So that's somebody's mic there. Sorry about that, everyone. Item A40-21, Treasurer Director of Finance, Donna DeFilippis, recommendation report T15-2021, temporary borrowing bylaw. The recommendation that report T15-2021 dated May 17, 2021, regarding the temporary borrowing bylaw be received, and that council authorized the staff to enter into a credit agreement with CIBC, and that a bylaw to authorize a temporary borrowing not to exceed $2 million be presented at the May 25th, 2021 council meeting. I need a mover for that. Councillor Bradrick, seconded by Mr. Mayor. Comments or questions on that? Councillor Rayner.
Thank you to the Director of Finance, Ms. DeFilippis. I see CIBC is here. I've got a letter from them. Actually, I got a couple letters from them, and just about everything in the world they could possibly increase this year to the people who use their services. They have, even though the banks make billions of dollars every year, they don't seem to be making enough for the people that get their bonuses, I guess, in Toronto at the end of the year. Is CIBC really the best choice? They just seem to be expensive in all areas, and I thought it's pretty competitive out there. I'm sure you went to others like T or Royal, whatever, but is there any other possibilities, or have you exhausted them all and CIBC happened to be the best?
Through you, Councillor Chairman Trombetta, to Councillor Rayner. So CIBC is the bank of the township. It's been the bank for the township, I think, since it got incorporated. So what you have this evening is the ability to have what is normally called a line of credit. Right now, the township with the CIBC, we don't have any means if our accounts ever went into the negative. There's not a possibility. Now, we don't foresee that need in the near future, not even, in the next 5 years. But in reviewing all our banking information, it was, best practice to have this in place in case anything ever happened or there was an emergency. So it's not a loan we're going into with rates or anything like that. It's just sort of like a layer on our existing agreement with CIBC to allow the ability to do temporary borrowing if we ever needed to. In terms of, the township's corporate bank, it's important that we have a bank that is local because staff do deposits typically daily. We still do get cash at the township, and it's important to deposit those funds quickly, and it's good to have a branch close by. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, but I do have a few more with regards to that. CIBC is not the only bank in town. Did you check with the one across the road? And what is the interest rate on that line of credit? And how competitive is it to the one across the road?
Through you, Chairman Trombetta, to Councillor Rayner. So in order to do what you requested to see what RBC is offering, it would mean that we would have to change corporate banks. In order to do that, it would have to be a formal RFP to change our banking. I can tell you that CIBC, their rates, right now, we don't really pay typical banking rates that perhaps an individual or a company would pay. We do pay for some electronic payments that flow through. The rate for this line of credit, it varies. It's based on prime, but as I indicated, I do not foresee a need to borrow. It's to have something in place in case there's an emergency. I think this past year and a half has highlighted the fact that anything can happen. And if for some reason the township was stuck with cash flows, we would be scrambling to try to make payments because we do not have anything in place that would allow us to go into a negative balance. I would not be recommending at this time to do a banking RFP because the amount of work, if the township were to change banks, would be tremendous. And as the treasurer, I don't see a need for it because we don't have any issues with CIBC.
You don't have any issues, but you don't know what the competitive rate is then, do you?
We've never done an RFP for banking services.
Well, it's just that the fact that they were sticking it to everybody, well, not maybe corporations, but to individuals pretty darn hard in January on just about everything they possibly could, raking in billions in profits every year. And I'm thinking, okay, somebody needs to step on their feet a little bit and say, let's not get too greedy here. There was a saying, when I sit on the board of directors, there's a lawyer that sits on the board of directors and he talks about, there's one lawyer that's in finance and he says, he has a saying and he says, and I never forgot it. And I thought it's something that's kind of important. He says, this is how I judge people. He says, pigs make money, hogs get slaughtered. And this is the way CIBC is acting right now. They're acting like hogs when they've already made a lot of money. And even the notion that we would be looking at RBC would be enough to rattle their bush and maybe get to the head office in Toronto and say, hey, you may not be the corporation yourself that's being affected, but everybody that works for the township got the same letter that I got. And we're not happy about it. And we're giving you guys a lot of money and we're doing a lot of banking with you. And maybe it's time you guys should be a little bit more appreciative of what we do instead of so greedy. So that's really where I'm coming from, is it doesn't hurt once in a while to check out in the market. It doesn't hurt to be trying to be competitive. And if you don't, then you may indeed be working for a bank that's very high interest rate, much higher than the others, and you don't know because you've never checked. Just because you haven't had a problem with them, of course you're not going to have a problem with them. They want to make sure everything runs smoothly, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily getting the best deal. And now that they've done this, I'm wondering if they're going to do it to the corporations too. So it's just something to be aware of. I just didn't think it was very professional. What?
Thank you,
So,
Councillor. I see
anyways.
Madam CAO, you have your hand up. Go ahead, Madam CAO.
Yeah, actually, thank you, Councillor Trombetta, through to Councillor Rayner. I think we just have to be really careful about saying such strong and directive points about banks when we are you're identifying an identifiable corporation, and they aren't here to defend themselves, etc. I think this is something that council should be aware of.
Okay, thank you, Madam CAO. Seeing no other comments or questions from any members of the committee, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Sorry,
Yes,
not
Councillor?
to jump on your toes. I had a question. We kind of jumped into the meeting here, and I was just going through my notes here. When we came back into open, did we take a vote on item A37-21? I know we took a mover and seconder to get into open. I just don't recall.
I might have missed that one, Councillor. I'll refer to the clerk if we needed to do that. Madam Clerk?
Sorry, I'm trying to go between screens here, so
I'll take your time.
bear with me. There was nothing to report on A3721. There was no resolution.
Okay, so we didn't need to vote to receive it or anything like that?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to double check. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Riley, for pointing that out. Let me just get my back in order. Okay, so we're up to, you got the vote for Madam Clerk for the last one, right? Is that correct?
Yes, I believe A3921 was moved by Councillor Rayner and seconded by Councillor Ganaan.
I think we did that one. It was item A40-21.
Oh, I'm sorry. Moved by
That was
Councillor
done.
Bradrick and seconded by the mayor.
Yep, that was the last one.
And it was carried.
Okay, perfect. So moving on to other business. Item A41-21, CAO Bev Hendry, employee professional accomplishments, Caitlin Hall, deputy treasurer, the completion of AMCTO, municipal accounting and finance program. Somebody's mic's still on there. A little bit of feedback there, sorry. Completion of municipal accounting and finance program, Unit 2, financial planning and asset management. Madam CAO, would you like to just make a couple comments in regards to that?
Thank you, Chair Trombetta. Yes, again, this is a really great part of our agenda from my perspective because we get to acknowledge the good work of staff. And through the AMCTO, they do run a whole series of professional courses. And of course, this one is specifically up Caitlin Hall's area of expertise, but it is one of the courses that she would need to complete to get her designation through the MAP program. So we're really proud of Caitlin for finishing up her financial planning and asset management unit of the AMCTO Municipal Accounting and Financial Program. And of course, she's doing this while we're carrying on with the work and doing it through Zoom, etc. So another demonstration of how the work is carrying on for this township.
That's great. Well, to thank Caitlin for that. Donna, since since she's your deputy treasurer, would you like to say anything? I think I should ask you as well.
Thank you, Counselor Trombetta. I can tell you that Caitlin got 100% on the final exam and completed the course with a grade of 98%. So we should all be very proud.
Very proud.
That's excellent news. Excellent news. That's great. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So moving on to item A42-21. Any members of committee, any verbal updates? Any members of board or committees if required? Anything to update? Anybody? Fish, good to see you. Didn't say hi to you there. How you doing? Also Cindy too, that's there. Hello. Moving on to item A41-21. Members of council, any other business of an informative nature? Anybody? Anything to discuss? Well, pretty quick meeting for myself tonight. I guess we're going to be staying on this one, that we have no new business. So we'll be staying on this meeting, and Chair Rayner, you'll be taking over the Public Works. Is that correct from here on?
That's correct.
Okay, so then I will adjourn this administration meeting at the hour of 6:48. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, let's move on. Township of West Lincoln Public Works Recreation Arena Committee Agenda, meeting number 5 on Monday, May the 17th. Prior to commencing with the Public Works Recreation Arena Committee agenda, Mike Rayner is your chair tonight. Harold Yonker is not available as he's trucking in the land of the free right now, I believe. Prior to commencing with Public Works Recreation Arena agenda, the following need to be attended to. Number 1, due to efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19 and to protect all individuals, the council chamber will not be open to the public to attend standing committee or council meetings until further notice. The public may submit comments for matters that are on the agenda to jsemi@westlincoln.ca before 4:30 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Comments prior will be considered as public information and read into the public record. The meeting will be recorded and available on the township's website within 48 hours of the meeting unless otherwise noted. To members of committee, are there any changes to the order of any of the items on the agenda at this time? Seeing none, disclosure, pecuniary interest, and or conflict of interest by any members of committee at this time. Seeing none, appointments. There are no appointments. Request to address items on the agenda. Procedural bylaw 1013-5, general rules. 1 hour in total should be allocated for this section of the agenda, and it will only be provided with 5 minutes to address their issues, but some exceptions may apply. A response may not be provided and the matter may be referred to staff. I am to inquire if there's any members of the public who are in attendance virtually on Zoom meeting call that wish to address a specific item on tonight's agenda as permitted by section 1013-5 of the procedural bylaw. If so, please raise your hand in the Zoom options or unmute yourself and advise that you wish to speak. I will then ask the clerk if she has received an email or correspondence from any member of the public prior to 4:30 p.m. today. So, Madam Clerk and or Roberta, has anybody wished to speak on any items relating to the agenda tonight?
No, Mr. Chair, I have no one that has sent me an email or correspondence.
Okay, Roberta, nothing either?
There is no one in the gallery, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to the consent agenda items then. All items listed below are considered to be routine and non-controversial and can be approved by one resolution. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member requests it, in which case the item will be removed from the consent resolution and considered immediately following adoption of the remaining consent agenda items. 6.1, item PW 23-21, consent agenda items recommendation that the Public Works Recreation Arena Committee hereby approve the following consent agenda items. Number 1, 2, and 3 be and hereby received for information with the exception of any items. Are there, let's read them first. West Lincoln Santa Claus Parade Committee minutes of January 27, 2021. West Lincoln Public Library Board minutes of April 9, 2021. An information report REC-07-2021. West Lincoln Community Center and Recreation Services 19 update. Are there any items of this that any members of committee wishes to be pulled on this? Seeing none, then I need.
Yes, Chair, I'd like to pull number 3. You're muted, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I need a mover and a seconder then, please. I guess I read all that and nobody heard.
No, we heard you.
I hate damn. Okay, so on items number 1 and 2, all those in favor?
You may need a mover and seconder though.
I think you just didn't call
I
them.
need a mover
I
and
thought I
second,
just did that.
Mr. Chair.
We got that, didn't we, Joanne?
No, I did not hear anything.
All right, I need a mover and a seconder then, please. Counselor Tibetan, Counselor Riley. All right, so items 1 and 2 then, all those in favor? Okay, item number 3. Counselor Broderick, it's yours.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the CAO. I just wanted to, when I saw that the community center rec update was going to be on the agenda, I looked at it anxiously, seeing if there was any additional information on some youth programming in regards to not being able to use the skate park. We had some emails that went to us last week or the week before about some vandalism. And I believe the next step was going to be taking it forward to the Emergency Operations Center for some discussions around perhaps looking at ways to problem solve some of the busy needs of the youth in West Lincoln, and wanted to get an update on that since it wasn't in the report.
Okay, thank you. Through Chair Rayner to Councillor Broderick. We did discuss that item, and that came up as a conversation at the EOC. And one of the outcomes of it was the fact that especially with respect to the skateboard park, is the fact that this is a provincial order and with clear provincial guidelines about opening or closing it. So it really isn't an area of consultation for the youth in that regard. And to the point where it was continuing to be used, so we had to actually use a stronger or more substantial form of fencing around it. Excuse me. And actually, over the weekend, we are learning that it is being broken into and used. So that actually came up at our meeting today. So I think your question is a little bit broader and looking for things that we can be doing for the youth. And we still have to look at different ways of connecting. There are opportunities that are coming up right now. I think the report, and the person who should be talking to this is our Director of Public Works and Recreation, and I'll let him speak to it next. We're continuing to listen and respond. And so I don't know if you heard the news today, but it's a little bit more about camp and whether or not camps are going to be going forward. And that's a bit exciting because it looks as though there is some movement in that regard. We don't have some other municipalities have an open, a forum for outreach. And it's something that I would actually like to do because I think that the youth would respond potentially to a feedback channel, like an opportunity for them to write to their township and say these are the things that they'd like. In the past term, there was a youth council, and I think that was a good way of engaging the youth, but that hasn't been formed this time. So there's lots of things that we can do, and I understand your concern. And we will continue to try to think of ways that we could do that good engagement. And not to Councillor DiPaolo, but to Director DiPaolo, would you have anything to add?
Thanks, Bev. To be honest, my audio was in and out there. I just heard youth programming. I didn't hear Councillor Broderick's question, and I heard your response, Bev. So I apologize, but I completely missed the question.
Would you like me to clarify that for you, Director DiPaolo? So back a week and a half or so ago, when there was the fencing put up at the skate park, the CAO had sent an email out to advise us of the situation. And I had questioned about the intervention of our rec department to look at and problem solve around perhaps an engagement with the youth, either through ourselves, our own rec department, or perhaps reaching out to Fort in town to see if they also could support us in that connection, so that we could problem solve with the youth in order to engage them in that process, in order to not hopefully stop the vandalism and the break-in of the skate park. And as the CEO has indicated, that has continued even with the more extreme fencing. So my question was, what, if anything, has been done from our point with the rec department as far as engaging the youth?
Through the chair to Councillor Bradwick, well, we'll circle back with staff and come up with some strategies and report back to this committee. Right now, our rec staff have just been kind of preoccupied with following the guidelines and provincial guidelines regard to COVID. And we're trying to put together some virtual programming for youths as we did through the March break. And we're trying to organize summer camps. But as far as youth engagement goes, we haven't spent a lot of time on that, but we will investigate and report back.
Thank you, Director.
Any further questions, Councilor Bradwick?
No, thank you, Chair.
Okay, you moved it. I need a seconder for this one, please. Councilor Riley, any further questions with regards to item number 3? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. There are no communications tonight. Staff report, item PW 24-21. Manager of Operations, Steve McGee, and Director of Public Works and Recreation, Mike DiPaolo. Recommendation report, PW-12-2021, new single axle and 2 tandem axle plow trucks tender authorization. Recommendation 1, that report PW-12-2021, renew axle, new single axle and new tandem axle plow truck tender authorization dated May 17, 2021 be received. And 2, that council accept the tender submission by Rush Truck Centers for the supply and delivery of 3 plow trucks in the amount of $820,844.06 plus HST. And that council authorizes staff to spend approximately $5,000 per truck for a total of $15,000 for equipment to make the trucks road ready. And that a bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter an agreement with Rush Truck Centers for the supply and delivery of 3 plow trucks. I need a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Gannon and Councillor Trombetta. Any questions from members of committee regarding this item? No? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. 8.2, item PW 25-21, Manager of Operations Steve McKean and Director of Public Works and Recreation Mike DiPaolo. Recommendation report PW-14-2021, supply and delivery of backhoe loader tender authorization. Recommendation 1, that report PW-14-2021, resupply and delivery of backhoe loader tender authorization dated May the 17th, 2021 be received. And that council accept the tender submission by Brandt Limited for the supply and delivery of a backhoe loader in the amount of $152,273.76, excluding HST. And that a bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter an agreement with Brandt Limited. I need a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councilor Braddock and the mayor. Any further questions with regards to this recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? That also carries. Thank you. Item PW 26-21, members of council, other business item of an informative nature. Does any member of committee have anything they'd like? Councilor Riley and Councilor Bradrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I just wanted to inform staff on something I heard on the weekend, and actually drove down to check it out myself. So I guess, if there's an opportunity for, our CEO to mention or make a comment, this would be great. But there was, I guess our boat launch was a very popular location on the weekend there. And I just wanted, I guess, just trying to understand. I was under the impression it was closed. I think not just myself, but other people who reached out to me also was on the impression it was closed. And I guess it wasn't. And so I was just kind of looking for clarity of what is actually closed. Because if it's not closed, I think we should be making that information clear so other people can benefit from it the information being open. We live in a day and age where everything's all confusing because we don't know what's open and what's closed, and we're being told in one respect one thing's closed, in another respect something else is open. So I was just kind of curious, is it supposed to be open? Is this another situation where somebody's, with the skate park, someone hacked a way to get into the skate park? Is this a situation that's supposed to be open, or is that supposed to be closed? So I was just kind of curious. I just know that a concern was brought to me and I didn't have that information.
Is that through to the CAO?
Yeah, if the CEO can comment, that'd be wonderful.
Thank you. Through you, Chair Rayner, to Councillor Riley. Is another one I'll actually ask our Director DiPaolo to weigh in on as well. This has been an item that's been discussed across the region in terms of our boat launches allowed to be open or closed. And again, after considerable discussion, that we have not actually put barriers up to the use of it. However, there has been signage included at that boat launch area to talk about the fact that while you're doing that activity, you still have to carry on with the COVID protocols of keeping the safe distance, wearing the masks when you're within close distance, and following all the other hygiene rules. So that's where it's at. There's been talks of things opening and closing, and there's a regular discussion amongst the municipalities to make sure that we're being consistent. And based on that discussion, that's where we carried on with leaving it open, and but making sure that the regular park protocols associated with COVID were also posted.
Okay, I appreciate that, and thank you. Just because, again, when I was asked about it, I told them it was closed. I was under the impression it was closed, and then they're like, "Oh, there's people down there," and then I was like, "Oh, maybe it's not closed." I had no idea, and that wasn't the messaging that I'd ever heard. I think just recently I heard that there was a stink about some of the marinas in Hamilton that were open that weren't supposed to be open, which then add more confusion to what was supposed to be done or not done in our community. So again, I appreciate the explanation. I certainly wish I knew, because I probably would have took advantage of the weekend voting myself had I known sooner than finding out on Sunday. But regardless, maybe I can get voting next week.
We have posted the closures pretty clearly, but that one isn't. I have to say that across the lake, around the lake, there is this has probably been one of the most confusing issues. And so, and I respect and understand that as well. So there's an issue about recreational boating, and you really can't use a recreational boat unless you use a launch, and it is a really, really tough one. So the practice in Niagara region is we have regular conversations about those. We also talk about beaches, but we don't have a beach, so I just listen to that discussion.
And just to understand, so we're being consistent with our other neighboring municipalities. Is that what I get here? Okay. Perfect.
Well, now you raised Hamilton, which of course is not the one I consult with as much.
Sorry, I meant Niagara.
Yeah.
So no, anyways, I appreciate it. I don't need to bring this out anymore. So thank you.
All right, Councillor Broderick.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to highlight to Council and the public that Councillor Gannon and Councillor Riley and myself this past last week had the opportunity to participate in a roundtable Zoom discussion with Niagara Region Children's Services. We participated in a review of recommendations that are going to be put forward to Niagara Regional Public Health and Social Services Committee, as well as Regional Council in regards to the impact of the recent national child care announcement. There's going to be a coordinated approach from those particular levels of government across the province as they advocate for services to be universal, because as we know, the national child care needs the provincial participation. So they're looking at a unified approach and wanted to know at the local level, what were the important factors to kind of drive home. So it was a 2-hour roundtable, and it was informative, and we were able to express some of our local issues that could be perceived from a rural perspective. And we were invited due to the letter that we had written just a few weeks ago. So that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, you had your hand up?
Yes, thank you. And I was just gonna pull in just a couple, small comments on the issue that Councillor Riley raised, and that was that I know for a fact that the boat launches, the marina is closed, but boat launches in Port Colborne and Wainfleet are open. So they basically just don't want the congregating, and so they're basically just saying get into the water and go out fishing and stuff like that. And the other comment was, this was, as the CAO mentioned, kind of a perennial question. And one of the things that I think was deliberate was that we didn't broadcast that it was in fact open. And so if people discover that it is open, you know, their little win, but we really didn't want to broadcast and bring people to the park. If somebody wanted to slip into the Welland River and do some fishing quietly with a little tin can and go, then that was basically basically our approach, because it's really the only boat launch that we have, and we more or less share it with the boundary of Wainfleet. So it's kind of an internal one. It is smaller, and because it's a river, it's not so widely used. It was more of an issue that was raised at, say, Sugarloaf in Port Colborne and some of those ones. But just those two comments on that, and no further. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Trombetta, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I did. Thank you. Do you need to go? Am I allowed to go, Mr.
Oh,
Chair? Or?
Madam CAO, you want to go now? I thought you put your hand up. You wanted to go in line. Or you wanted to comment
Whenever
on?
you want me to go, I'm good. I just want to add a little bit more to Wellandport.
Oh, in relation to what the mayor said then?
Mhm.
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead, and then
Okay.
we'll do Councillor Trombetta.
Okay, sorry about that, Councillor Trombetta. I just, there have been other issues in Wellandport with gatherings late at night, and based on complaints that we've had, we have been involving the Grimsby precinct through NRP to be doing more stop bys and making sure that that the groups aren't violating the orders for getting together. And so it's been really nice to have their support, and they've been going down quite regularly during the evenings and making sure that there is proper protocols in place and safety. And thank you.
Okay, good. Councillor Trombetta, no?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through Mr. Chair to Mr. Director. I know I think discussing last time, the tender, or to Chair of Public Works, the tender closed for the resurfacing of the road. Just wondering when the start of construction date is and how that's progressing. It's either through to Mr. Chair or to Mr. Director, one or the other.
I could answer that. Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Trombetta. We had a pre-construction meeting with the contractor. We did all of our necessary pre-construction photos that staff took, and I'm not sure the exact startup date, but it should be later on this month or early June. We could send a quick email once we confirm that start date.
And just through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Director, does notice go to the public from the municipality that it is getting resurfaced, or it does not? So, or is that the contractor's responsibility?
Well, through the chair to Councillor Trombetta, I don't believe we hand out door-to-door notices just because of the amount of properties in the area. We definitely will be putting it on our website under our construction area. I'll talk to staff regarding if there's other methods that we can inform the public.
Okay.
But it's
And,
definitely our responsibility.
okay, great. Thank you for that, Mr. Director. That's it. That's all I had. I guess everybody have a good long weekend.
Anybody else have anything? I just want to comment with regards to the boat launches. I watch Channel 11 every night, and apparently there were the province had one of their provincial park boat launches open in Turkey Point, And the 3 private launches in that area said, look, if that's the case, then I'm going to respect the COVID proper protocol and everything, but I'm going to open up too, because you're not really setting the example. You said it's supposed to be closed and yet you've opened it. So I'm going to open it. So that's how that happened. And I don't know how it took off from there, but they made it clear on the Channel 11 News that the provincial order was not to open the boat launches. At least that's what the private people were told. And yet the government opened the public one. So that created all this mess. And I guess that's why it took off to where it took off now. Some people say yes, some people say no. And there's really no clear direction to this point other than don't do as I do as I say. And that's really set off alarm in the Turkey Point area. And I guess it's taken off all down to Niagara now. So that kind of, I think, is where that all started from. I have a question for the Director of Public Works. Who's responsible for the maintenance of the roundabouts? Is it the region?
Yes, they're regional roads, so the region maintains the roundabouts.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I went around the one by the Catholic school there just a couple days ago, and they're gonna, if we had a fall fair, they would win the prize. The weeds are growing the fastest there probably than I've seen anywhere. And I'm just wondering, is the intention to put flowers like Hamilton does and all the other places are, or have you got any idea what they're gonna do? Or at least take a lawnmower and cut it? It was almost a foot high. And I thought this somebody not coming from this area drives into Smithville thinking, well, this is pretty disgusting. Have you got any idea what's going to happen?
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that to my attention, Chair. The landscaping in the middle of the roundabout still needs to be addressed. As you remember, not a while ago, they were all damaged, but typically the region puts the onus on the municipalities to maintain the landscaped medians. I wasn't sure where you were going with your question, but we purposely selected low maintenance landscaping, but there's nothing there for us to maintain currently. So the region, we'll follow up the region accordingly, because they still have to finish the project before we maintain the landscaping area.
Yeah, well, to me, it was one of two things. If they're going to plant, that's fine. Then I know it's going to be addressed. But in the meantime, the weeds are out of control there, and at least we should cut it.
Okay.
Weeds are green, and when they're cut low, they don't know the difference between that and grass. But right now, there's certainly obvious weeds, and the roundabout's full of them. So at least it would look better if it was just cut until such time as they address the other items.
Okay, thanks for bringing that to our attention. We'll look after it or deal with the region on it.
No, that's it for tonight. Thank you. Under new business, is there anybody has anything they'd like to bring up for new business tonight? Seeing none, we've already done confidential, and I guess the meeting is now adjourned at 7:15 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Enjoy the weather.
Have a good weekend.